We're back here at Boom and Bust, here with Dr. Jack Mintz. He's President's Fellow, School of Public Policy, University of Calgary. You were just making that point about work from home, private, public sector. Please continue with that point, Jack.
I was particularly wanting to say something about productivity issues that are involved. So if people can work at home, some of the week at least, and as a hybrid arrangement, it saves them from traveling, to downtown core, which can take time, especially in large cities, like New York, Toronto, Vancouver, et cetera. And there can be real value to both the individual and the business in being able to save some of that time. And I think that is a very important aspect of work from home. On the other hand, you lose contact working at home, and you're not really working with other individuals. And if you're young, you can learn a lot from other people. And so you need to have that contact also. That's important. And you could lose productivity if people are cheating on the system by not working at all, but let's say taking, their dog for a walk or playing golf or whatever, which means the business has to have a very strong monitoring system.
Right.
In order to make sure that people are actually working, and that can be a weakness that's important. So I think generally it's unusual to have more than 2 days on average, and I think in the Federal Civil Service it's been more than that.
Right.
And I think it's about time that we take a stronger look at appropriate arrangements, which would be potentially a hybrid arrangement if it was agreed upon with the unions, but at the same time, something that I think will make sure that the work does get done, and some monitoring method to ensure that it happens. And I think that will be a key aspect to making sure work from home will be appropriate. Should it be 5 days a week? Absolutely not. In my view, it shouldn't be.
Yeah. Oh, no, interesting points. I got to turn the gears a little bit, change topics, talk a little bit about Canada's resource sector. I know that's something you've written a lot about and cared about in your academic role. You've been studying carbon subsidies more recently. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're learning?
Well, I think we're getting into a real funk, and I think the recent subsidies or the recent tariffs on electric vehicles that Canada is imposing 100% on Chinese vehicles to be imported, which is going to match the United States, as well as the 25% tax on tariff on aluminum and steel imported from China. All those, I think, reflect really what's happening in markets these days, and especially in terms of energy transition, where governments are just pouring out huge amounts of subsidies in order to support the energy transition. And there's a recent study, in fact, I have an article coming up this week in the Financial Post, which maybe before this program is going to be issued, but what I talk about is a new study a very interesting study that came out in Science that showed that subsidies on their own have had very little effect in terms of significant reductions in greenhouse gas emissions across 45 countries, looking at 25 years. By the way, it uses artificial intelligence to do this work. It's a very sophisticated study. What they do suggest is that carbon taxation or emission trading systems that all the provinces have right now is actually a much more has more power, say, subsidies in accomplishing changes. So, in other words, what the U.S. is doing in terms of their huge subsidies, now expected to be around $1 trillion under their Inflation Reduction Act, is really the wrong policy. It's not going to do the work. And it's also going to, as we know, be very high cost. And what all these subsidies are now doing is they're having unintended effects. They're creating trade wars, tariffs. They're creating, they're very expensive to governments, which is going to squeeze out other expenditures or make even or result in higher taxes generally for the public. and slow down growth. And so there's going to be a lot of negative aspects about this great use of subsidies, whether it's United States, Canada, Europe, or China. All those, although everybody is in the subsidy game right now, and I think it's a real serious issue that we have to worry about.
Very interesting point. I'd like to return to that because obviously it's having a huge impact in our economy. We're going to take a brief break, though. We'll be back with our guest after these messages.